Good day. Well, I frequently get asked what's in my pack, and so, I thought I've just come back from a 4-day trip. I'm staying in the hotel room and I haven't unpacked my bag yet, so I kind of thought this was a great opportunity to just unpack it as it is and let's have a look at what was inside there. So this was, more of a cold weather trip, so some extra equipment, some different stuff to what I normally take, but this will be pretty much what I'm going to take for the rest of the winter. So we'll just unpack it and see how we go. So we'll start with the pack. Now this is the 3FUL Kidian Pro bag. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've done a whole video review of this pack. So if you're interested in the bag itself, then feel free to check it out there. But what we'll do is I'm just going to start pulling apart what's in here. So I guess on this side we've got, soft water bottle. So it's a CNOC soft water bottle, and so I use this as part of my filtration system. So this will be my clean water bottle, and then in the same pocket I've also got a platypus soft bottle, which is my whiskey. So the two essentials, so water and whiskey, and then we're good. Now I will also have, so in the other side here I'll have my 2-litre CNOC bladder, and so this will be my dirty water bottle, and so I'll use a filter to filter from that one into the clean one. Now I guess in the front pocket here we'll have some ready access stuff or things that we might need to get to. So I've got some fleece gloves. I use trekking poles, so fleece gloves on this trip were super important because I can't just walk around with my hand in my pockets. I've also got in the top here, we've got it's my rubbish from last trip. Now I actually find bread bags make pretty good bin bags. They're a pretty tough plastic thing, and it's a way of trying to repurpose the bag from the bread we're eating. So that's kind of cool. I've also got my water filter. So this is a Sawyer Squeeze. This is in Ziploc bags and stuff like that because this was a cold trip. So a lot of the time this was in the chest pocket of my jacket. It was in my sleeping bag overnight when I slept because everything in my tent was freezing, and if you freeze your water filter, the ice expanding inside the water turning into ice expanding inside the filter is likely going to crack the filter and damage it. You're not going to know about it. You're just going to think you've got a really good flow rate on your filter when in fact it's broken. So important these things don't freeze. We've also got a little Cedar Summit towel. Use this for a heap of different stuff. On this trip there's lots of condensation, so you ended up wiping down the inside of the tent, stuff like that, and it can help with just trying to dry your tent off a little bit before you pack it away, because it can be hard to dry stuff in cold temperatures. You use it to dry off after creek crossings, things like that. It's a nice little thing. That's quite a light towel, so it doesn't add too much. So this here is a Tyvek ground sheet. So Tyvek's material made by DuPont. It's a waterproof, incredibly durable, great as a tent footprint. You can also lay it out to lay your stuff out on to keep them out of the mud, out of the snow, all that type of stuff. So it can be a handy thing you can use for a few different applications also. And then in the front here we've also got a laminated map. Obviously, I navigate a lot nowadays just via an app on my phone, but I do have map and compass with me, especially if I don't know the area very well. So, this important in that regards. I also use this as like a cheese board and stuff like that for when I'm laying out some food and stuff like that. I'm not going to cut through it with my plastic knife, so I'm not going to damage the map in any way. So we've also got some mountain flatbread. So I normally take maybe a day's worth of extra food just in case. or a little bit extra, so I can, you know, if something happens, stuck out there longer, then we can deal with that. And so that's a little bit of leftover food in that regard. As far as the front pockets, I guess, in this little shoulder strap pocket, I'll have my beacon. That's my PLB, so my personal locator beacon. Nice handy spot, sits right here at my front of the shoulder straps. That's good. In the other shoulder strap pocket, I normally have my camera and, you know, any filters or anything like that that I'm carrying. Then hip belt pockets, normally some snacks for the day. So I've got some freeze-dried mango left over. I find that like a good kind of sugary hit that doesn't weigh too much. And then in the other hip belt pocket on this trip, my sunglasses. So these ones, I just picked these up recently. They're Julbo Explorer 2s, I think. So they're like a reactive lens glasses, more like a mountaineering style thing with eye shields and stuff like that. So I figured, you know, I'm always on the fence with glasses, and just because I haven't had a good enough pair, I don't think. So, you know, so I should be trying to minimize the damage the sun's doing to my eyes, and so I'm not walking around squinting everywhere as well. I mean, you know, I'm sure I've already done a heap of damage to myself, and most people think that I look older than 25. So hopefully these glasses will help in that regards. You know, I've also got some sunscreen and some lip balm with some sunscreen in that as well, and so that will just sit in my hip belt pocket. Now, as for the back panel of this bag, I've got this big foam mat here. So it's not the one I normally use, but it's the one I use in the cold. So this folds out into 4 panels, and so it's a torso size mat effectively. It's a closed cell foam. It's not going to absorb any moisture. It's great to sit on when it's folded up. It's great to lay out underneath your sleeping pad to add some extra R value. It's good for, I mean, you can lay down on it, you can do all the stuff, and it also provides some structure for my bag. So, because it's a frameless pack, so it's a little bit of rigidity, makes it a bit more comfortable when you're packing and stuff like that. So it's a nice, versatile bit of equipment. And the last thing I've got on the outside of my bag in the drink bottle holders is the tent poles for my tent. Now, I'm a big advocate of, you know, when I'm using a tent that has poles, you know, the only thing that keeps your tent to that awkward shape and makes it really difficult to pack is the poles. So separate the pole from the tent, stack it vertically in a drink bottle holder or down the inside of your bag, something like that. And then once you've done that, you'll be able to smush your tent down to half the size. Like, the only thing keeping it to this length are the poles. So stack them differently. All right, so this is a roll top bag. So unroll this, and this is pretty much how it was. So let's just unpack it and see what we have. So on the top here, this has this little pocket which stays attached. So it just sits on the inside lid, and I mean, it's great, handy spot for little knickknacks and things like that. So it sits on top of the main party bag. So cutlery, you know, these are cool because they clip together and make a long spoon, so handy to get to the bottom of your freeze-dried food packet. In this little pocket, I've also got my stove. So I've got a Soto Windmaster, which when I'm using a gas canister stove, this is my go-to. Absolutely love this stove. I've also got some more cutlery. It's my cheese knife. And then that's just actually some additional guy ropes. So I wasn't sure about where I was going to be pitching this tent and what I may actually need extra. And then I normally have my toothbrush there as well. But I took that out and brushed my teeth when I finished my hike. So that's that. Then now from the top of the bag, have my rain shell, somewhere that's, you know, quick and easy access. You know, especially for those times when you're pulling on and off, you never know what you're going to need it for. I've then got a little dry bag which has my electronic stuff in it, so that's my battery bank, any additional camera stuff, the things that I might want to get to throughout the day, you know, battery goes flat, that type of stuff. And then I've got an active insulation layer, so it's just like a lightweight power grid type thermal type thing. I think this one's called a Pro Thermal. It's from MacPack. But it's really good. Normally I wouldn't take this, but as I mentioned, this was a cold trip, and you know, I felt one additional layer of insulation was going to be worthwhile having. Managing moisture on cold weather trips is super important. I've also got a fleece balaclava. Another thing, normally I just go with a beanie, but this trip, knowing potentially some snow, potentially lots of wind, I opted to take this, and I was glad I did. I definitely used it when I was on one of the peaks on this trip. So, yeah, so that's that. That's pretty cool. And I guess last thing on top here, toiletries bag, toilet paper, little lightweight trowel, things like that. Just the essentials. Stays in a little dry bag, keeps it dry, makes it easy to find inside your pack. Next up, have the tent. So this tent's a MacPack Micro Light tent, and as you can see, without the poles, pack's down super small. So the only thing keeping it that annoying shape is the poles, because normally, you know, this is quite. It's quite long, so you know that's how big the thing is. So we're packing it down to half the size just by taking the poles out. Yeah, so it's really cool. So you know, this tent, yeah, it's not the lightest thing out there, but it's durable, it's robust, and it's a very warm tent. So in those colder weather trips, like something like this, that you're kind of comfortable is going to be okay. In some strong winds, it's going to keep you warm, and the temperatures are well in the minus. Like these are a nice unit. They're a bit claustrophobic, but you know, it's got the pros that I wanted for this trip. All right, we've got next up first aid kit. Just, you know, everyone tailors first aid kits to what they want. So this one's kind of basic. Some bandages, some hydrolytes, and some wound dressings, an emergency blanket, because they're often quite an important thing. And it normally sits pretty high up on my pack as well. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to use something like this or need it in a hurry, but you don't want to have to dig to the bottom of your bag to find it if the situation arises that you do need that. What else we got? So some lightweight rain pants. Not always a mandatory thing, but the thing about rainwear is that anything that's waterproof is going to be windproof. So, you know, on this trip, lots of cold weather stuff, lots of really biting strong winds. So that windproof layer, super important. And gas canister for the stove. Pot set. So this is the Toaks 550 titanium pot. Now in here I actually have my cup, and I have my little coffee maker as well. We can open this up and have a look. But it all fits in this one nice little unit. So in here I have my coffee maker. So it's just like a kind of a filter, kind of like a fine tea filter. This one's made by MSR. I actually really like these for making coffee. It weighs about 25 grams or something. And then in there again, I have like a little ferro rod just in case the igniter on my Soto stove doesn't work, which is pretty unlikely. My cup sits in here, and then the pot itself. So that all kind of, you know, all clips together. all nice compact unit, and so that's pretty cool. And all this is just kind of stacked vertically, so when the bag's standing up, it's pretty well balanced, and then you're just going down through what you need. So this is food, so I've still got like a leftover meal and a leftover breakfast in here, a little bit of chocolate. High calorie stuff like chocolate, things like that, great in the cold. Give you some extra calories to burn, keep you a bit warmer. And that's just in a Ziploc bag. It's just, I mean, it's all sealed anyway, so it's not the end of the world if it gets wet. I mean, this is a waterproof fabric that's not seam sealed, so the bag's pretty water resistant anyway. Snacks, so it's like protein bars, coffee, hot chocolate, all that type of stuff is in there. I normally keep my lunch and all my snacks and my dinner stuff separate. And then normally at the start of the day, I would take, you know, if I know I'm going to eat 2 or 3 bars that day, I would take them out in the morning, put them in my hip belt pocket so that they're ready to go when I actually need them. So I don't have to dig in my bag throughout the day. Same with the lunch. I'll normally, if I'm having like tuna with my wraps, I'll normally slot that down the front panel of my bag so I don't have to open the whole bag every time I stop for a break. It's about trying to make stuff a little bit readily accessible. It's the same reason why the tent's on the top, because, you know, when you go to set up camp, the last thing you want to do is dig through your bag when it's pouring down rain, unload everything just to get to your tent because it's at the bottom of the bag. So you're going to have your shelter pretty much right at the top. So that way, open it up, pitch the tent, throw everything else inside it, keep everything dry. And so now, I don't know if I can actually, so now I've got a dry bag in here, and this is my pack liner. So it only takes up about half my bag. It's a 30-litre pack liner, and pretty much this has all my sleeping gear in it. So anything that's 100% critical that it has to stay dry. So sleeping bag, you know, thermals, you know, all that type of stuff I keep inside a dry bag inside my pack. Some people do this all in individual dry bags and whatnot. For me, with a frameless bag, I loose pack my sleeping bag and down jacket and all that type of stuff. So even though some things you have compression bags, you can make them really small, I find that with a frameless bag, you can just jam your sleeping bag in the bottom and then build everything around it, and it will fill all the gaps. And so you get like a nice, flat, smooth surface like this as well, rather than hard lumps of compacted sleeping bags and a compressed down jacket, which with a frameless bag then dig into your back and make it really uncomfortable. So just one pack liner and loose pack everything inside it. And so that is this guy here. So this is a 30-litre dry bag. Yeah, normally you can press this down a bit smaller and it will still actually fit quite a bit more in it as well. Now in here, as I said, is going to be all the stuff that, you know, it's critical for my safety that all this stuff stays dry, because, you know, down doesn't work when it gets soaking wet. So really important that you look after this stuff. In here, set of warm bed socks, try and manage keeping your feet dry and warm. I have another insulation layer. So this is the MacPack Nitro. So this is made out of Polartec Alpha or Alpha Direct. If you haven't tried this fabric, it's amazing. I can't stress enough how great these is. They're ridiculously lightweight, pack down to nothing, regulate temperature really well. I mean, I use this a lot as my thermal, sometimes as an active insulation layer. It regulates body temperature really well, and it's going to be lighter and warmer than any other thermal you're going to think about taking on your trip. So this is the only bit of kit that stays in my pack all year round, never comes out. It's there for like cold trips like this one. In summer, it's my main insulation layer if I don't think the temperature is going to drop that much. They're amazing. Like, go check out anything made out of Alpha Direct. Brilliant fabric. Next up, I've just got some thermal pants. Those ones are like a Polartec, like power dry type cut fabric. Then next up, I have a down jacket. This is a pretty significant down jacket too. So, you know, temperature on this trip got down to around -10. So, you know, so pretty cold. This is the MacPack Aerosmith jacket. I can't remember how much down's in this, but it's quite a lot. It's 800 loft down. It's actually a really warm jacket. I was super glad that I brought this on the trip and dump some of this stuff down here. All right, then a silk liner. I rarely take these as well. Even though silk packs down super small, it's really light. It does offer a level of warmth as well, and that's kind of what I was looking for on this trip. Like, yes, liners protect your sleeping bag so that you don't have to wash them as often. It's more like washing a bed sheet rather than the whole bed. But yeah, this trip, you know, was all about trying to stay warm, and you know, had some untested bits of equipment on this trip, so added in an extra layer. I'm glad I did. It worked really well. Inflatable pillow. This one's by Cedar Summit. I think it's the Eros pillow. I'm really on the fence with pillows. I kind of backflip on them all the time. Currently I'm using this one. Sometimes I'll just use my down jacket. But I guess on a trip like this, you know, I might have to sleep in my down jacket. So you can't rely on your down jacket as a pillow if you're sleeping on it. And so we have the Nemo Tensor insulated pad. It's my first time testing this out in really cold temperatures. So this has an R value of about 4.2, I think. It's very compact, very small mat. This is the most comfortable sleeping mat I have ever had by far. Like, it's incredibly comfortable, but there are lots of mixed reviews about this mat. Lots of people complain about them leaking. And I was in an outdoor store today actually, and there was one on the table that people were trying to claim warranty for. So they are delicate, and the fabric feels delicate, and yeah, I feel like it's something that you've really got to take good care of. We'll see how you go with it. Like this, you know, I've only spent about 5 nights on this now, whatever, but I just know it's incredibly comfortable, and it insulated me very well between this and the foam mat I was sleeping on. I felt incredibly well insulated to the ground, and I actually wasn't cold on this trip, so despite the temperatures, so I actually really like that. And then last piece of gear is hard to get out of the bag. So this is my quilt, and this is also a recent purchase for myself. So this is the Neve Gear Feathertail quilt. This is the -6 version. I think it's -6. I think it comes down to, or it's rated to, yeah, it's rated to -6. I think it weighs about 690 grams. I think it's 950 loft down. You know, really good. Neve Gear, they're an Australian manufacturer. I only purchased this recently. It's the first real test I've put it to in cold temperature. And this combined with the mat and the tent and stuff like that, I was incredibly comfortable where I thought I was going to be cold and shivering. I've been colder on other trips that were nowhere near these low temperatures. So really impressed with this. Everything about this just feels really well made. The way it attaches to your sleeping mat is fantastic. I spoke to this sleep system a little bit in another video as well, so if you're interested in the actual system together, have a look at that. But yeah, really good bang for buck, really good piece of equipment, and I'm really happy that I got this sleeping mat or sleeping bag. So it's not even that, it's a quilt. So quilt, and that's it. We've like unpacked all my stuff. We've trashed the hotel room. I feel like a rock star. And yeah, I think we've covered off all the stuff. So, and for this trip, you know, it was 4 days, temperatures down to -10, and I was happy with every bit of kit that I took on this trip. So everything performed exactly how I wanted it to be. There was only one thing that I wish I would have taken on this trip, and that was a pair of waterproof socks, because I hike in trail runners, and once I got them wet in a swamp, normally they dry out pretty quick, but then I went straight from the swamp into snow, and it just made for some really cold feet. That was problematic to manage, and I had a pair of waterproof socks in the car, so so it was more just a matter of me packing a little bit differently and actually factoring in the snow at the top of the mountain, which I didn't factor in. So that's it. That's everything I have in my bag. Fits in a small pack. Like, this is probably about 50 liters. How it was packed, it's got some overflow capacity, but that was probably about 50 liters at the most. Most likely down around 40. So there's no reason why you can't fit all this stuff in a reasonably sized bag. You just got to think about what you pack and pack things that are useful for multiple purposes, I guess. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something. Hope you found it interesting. Ciao.